The galaxy had seen wars before, but nothing like this. When the first human fleet appeared at the edge of the Zarth Dominion, no one expected them to survive even a day. The Dominion's war beasts, genetically engineered monsters the size of tanks, had torn through entire civilizations. They were living weapons, designed to kill anything that moved. Among them was one creature whispered about in fear, the war beast of Vargan 9, a creature born in a lab of nightmares. Claws like blades, fur reinforced with nanosteel, and eyes that burned green like plasma cores. Its roars shattered comms, its breath melted armor. The soldiers of 100 worlds fled before it. But on the ruined surface of Vargan 9, one human didn't run. Commander Eli Trent had seen too much war already. He was tired of orders, tired of blood. When his squad was wiped out by orbital bombardment, he should have died with them. But instead, he woke up in the wreckage to find the war beast standing over him. It was silent, watching. The kind of silence that came before a storm. Eli's pulse pounded, but his hands didn't move toward his weapon. He knew he couldn't win. He'd seen the creature rip armored suits apart with one swing, so he did something no soldier would ever do. He spoke. "You gonna eat me or just stare?" The war beast tilted its head. Its claws dug into the ground, but it didn't attack. The green light in its eyes flickered, like confusion. Eli coughed, half laughing through pain. "Figures. You kill an army, and now you're bored." A faint sound came from the beast, a low growl, but not of rage. It almost sounded like curiosity. Days passed. The Dominion forces pulled back after the bombardment. Eli stayed trapped among the ruins, his comms dead, food gone, bleeding from shrapnel wounds. Every night he expected the beast to tear him apart. But every morning it was there. Watching from a distance, he began to talk to it. "Because silence was worse. I guess you don't get names, huh?" he said one morning. "You're too dangerous for that." "Maybe that's the problem." The creature blinked slow. "I'll call you Rex," he said, smirking weakly. Classic name. "You look like a Rex." The war beast didn't move. But later that night, when Eli fell asleep from exhaustion, he woke to find the creature lying nearby, close enough that its warmth pushed back the cold wind. Eli didn't understand why. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe hunger postponed. Or maybe something else had awakened inside the monster. When human rescue ships finally arrived, their scanners nearly melted, trying to identify the energy signature beside him. The soldiers panicked when they saw the beast. "Commander! Step away from that thing!" Eli stood, limping, raising a hand. "Don't shoot. It's with me." The war beast growled low, hackles rising as the soldiers aimed their rifles. Eli turned to it and said quietly, "Easy, boy." "It's okay." The beast froze. The growl faded. The rescue team couldn't believe their eyes. The galaxy's most feared killing machine lowering its head at a human's voice. From that moment, everything changed. The Dominion scientists swore their creations had no soul, no emotion, only rage. But the war beast had listened to one word, one simple phrase from a tired human soldier who had nothing left to lose. "Good boy." And for the first time in its existence, the beast didn't feel like a weapon. It felt seen. News of the impossible spread faster than light. A human soldier had tamed a war beast. Every military channel, every Dominion Council feed replayed the same blurry footage, a monster lowering its head beside a wounded man. Entire governments called it fake. Scientists said the creature must have been damaged, reprogrammed, or drugged. But deep down, everyone felt the same chill. If it was true, then the weapon they built could choose who it obeyed. Eli didn't care about the politics. He just wanted to breathe air that didn't smell like smoke. He stayed in the medical bay of the rescue ship, surrounded by humming machines and soldiers who stared like he was some alien himself. Outside the reinforced glass, the war beast Rex paced the hangar floor. Cameras followed its every step, afraid it might tear the ship apart. It didn't. It waited, always watching the door where Eli lay. When Eli finally walked out, limping, Rex froze mid-step. The soldiers aimed rifles, but the beast ignored them. It lowered its head slightly, as if greeting a pack leader. Eli smiled. "Hey, buddy. Missed me?" That single moment changed everything. The general staff didn't see a friendship. They saw a weapon that could win them the war. Within hours, orders came from high command. The human will cooperate in containment and behavioral studies. Containment meant cages. Rex didn't like cages. The first attempt to restrain him ended with steel bars twisted like paper. The lights flickered, alarms screamed, and yet no one died. The war beast could have slaughtered everyone in the bay, but it didn't. It just planted itself beside Eli and refused to move. That was when the scientists realized it wasn't fear controlling the creature. It was choice. Eli tried to reason with them. "He's not your pet project," he's thinking. "You can't treat him like machinery." The lead researcher glared at him through the observation glass. "Commander, it's not a he. It's a specimen. You of all people should understand the danger." Eli looked at the glowing eyes staring up at him through the reinforced wall. "Yeah, I understand it better than you do." That night, someone from the Dominion side sent a message to the human fleet. Return the war beast immediately or face retaliation. They didn't want their perfect monster becoming humanity's ally. They wanted their control back. When the first Dominion cruiser appeared out of warp space, sirens wailed. Soldiers scrambled, pilots cursed, and somewhere deep inside the hangar, Rex lifted his head and growled, a sound that made metal vibrate. Eli ran to the containment chamber. The guards tried to stop him, shouting about protocol. He ignored them. The Dominion was coming for blood, and he knew who they wanted first. He stood in front of the glass and whispered, "Rex, we've got trouble." The war beast pressed its head against the barrier. For the first time, Eli saw something in its eyes that wasn't fury, recognition. He keyed in the override code the scientists had given him just in case. The locks hissed open. The creature stepped out, massive paws echoing on the deck. Soldiers froze, guns shaking. Eli just raised a hand. "Stand down. He's with me." Outside, explosions lit the void like fireworks. Dominion boarding pods smashed against the hull. Rex's growl deepened. Eli grinned despite himself. "Let's show them what a good boy can do." The hangar doors opened. Wind roared. Alarms blared, and the human walked out beside the beast no one dared control. In that instant, two figures stood against the might of an empire, one made of flesh and stubborn courage, the other of steel, muscle, and something almost like loyalty. And as the first wave of enemy troops broke through the breach, every camera in the fleet captured the same sight, the war beast protecting a human, not because of programming, not because of fear, but because it wanted to. The galaxy's most terrifying weapon had chosen its side. The battle in orbit over Vargan 9 didn't end. It just spread. By the time dawn touched the planet's cracked surface, both fleets were shattered. Human and Dominion ships drifted in ruins, and the silence of space carried only static and wreckage. But through it all, the war beast and the human still stood. Eli, Trent, and Rex had become the story every soldier whispered about. The creature that once destroyed armies now fought beside a man. The impossible pair turned hopeless battles into victories. Wherever they landed, Dominion soldiers surrendered faster, not because of strategy, but because they feared what followed the human commander's calm voice. "Rex, with me." The galaxy began to change its opinion. Humans weren't the fragile newcomers anymore. They were unpredictable, brave, and somehow able to touch what no other race could even understand. That scared everyone. In secret, the Dominion leaders gathered in their shadowed council room. "This cannot continue," one hissed. "The human controls what we made. If it can bond with one of them, it can bond with all of them." Their scientists offered a solution, a signal pulse designed to override every war beast in existence. A single command to erase the creature's new emotions, turn them back into pure rage. While the Dominion prepared their weapon, the humans celebrated a hard-won victory. Inside the fleet's main hangar, soldiers brought food and cheers. Rex sat silently beside Eli, its glowing eyes reflecting the dim light. When the humans laughed, the beast stayed still. When Eli rested a hand on its neck, it leaned closer, like it finally belonged somewhere. But peace didn't last. The first pulse hit without warning. The lights flickered, every communication device screamed, and the beasts across the sector roared in agony. Even Rex. Eli fell as the floor shook, covering his ears from the sound. "Rex, what's happening?" The creature staggered back, growling, no screaming. Its claws gouged the metal. Circuits in its chest glowed red instead of green. The Dominion's pulse was rewriting it, forcing obedience, burning away what it had learned. Eli ran toward it as soldiers shouted to open fire. "Stand down," he yelled. "Don't shoot." But they were terrified. The beast that saved them now looked like the monster from their nightmares. Eli reached out, grabbing Rex's muzzle with both hands. "Hey, listen to me! You're not theirs anymore. You're mine. You hear me?" The growl slowed. The glowing red in its eyes flickered, confused. Eli pressed his forehead against the cold metal between its eyes. "You're a good boy. You remember that?" Something inside the creature's chest whined, a high, painful sound, and then silence. Its eyes flashed once, then the red light faded back to green. The pulse had failed. Somehow, it fought it off. When the technicians reviewed the data later, they couldn't explain it. Every other war beast across the galaxy went dark or berserk. Only Rex resisted. Only one. Eli didn't need science to explain. He knew why. The Dominion created beasts without hearts, and he gave one of them a reason to have one. That night, Command decided to make Rex the center of their new plan. "If one beast can break free, others can too," they said. "We'll use the human connection as a weapon." Eli hated the sound of that. He looked at Rex sleeping near the ship's engines, breathing slow and calm. "You're not a weapon," he whispered. "You're a miracle they don't deserve." Outside the viewport, the stars burned cold. War was coming again, and both man and beast knew the next fight wouldn't be about victory. It would be about freedom. Human Command didn't waste time. Within days, they announced a new project, Operation Packlight, the plan to liberate more war beasts using Eli and Rex as the key. Officially, it was about ending the Dominion's control. Unofficially, it was about power. If humans could command the galaxy's strongest weapons, no one could stop them. Eli hated every part of it. He'd seen what fear did to generals. It made them cruel. And now they were building labs of their own, rooms filled with captured beasts in chains, glowing eyes full of confusion and pain. The scientists called it progress. Eli called it what it was, another kind of slavery. Rex knew something was wrong. It didn't understand words like project or command, but it could feel the tension in the air, the way soldiers avoided its gaze. Its instincts screamed danger, but when it looked at Eli, it stayed calm. He was its anchor, the only voice that ever said good boy without fear. One night, Eli stood in the observation room, watching technicians attach neural interfaces to a new war beast. The creature roared and thrashed, sparks flying from its mechanical implants. "Commander," said the lead scientist, "with Rex's cooperation, we can synchronize this one too." "Imagine an army of them." Eli cut him off. "You mean slaves? That's what you're making?" The scientist frowned. "You're letting emotion cloud your judgment." Eli's jaw tightened. "You call it emotion. I call it humanity." That night he couldn't sleep. He sat beside Rex in the hangar, running his hand over the creature's metallic fur. "They don't understand you," he whispered. "They think they own everything they can't destroy." Rex leaned closer, rumbling softly. Its eyes glowed faint green, calm, loyal, alive. Then the alarms started. A Dominion stealth ship had breached the fleet perimeter. It wasn't here to fight. It carried something worse. The second signal pulse, stronger and smarter than before. The moment it hit, chaos erupted. Every captured war beast screamed in unison, their implants sparking red. Containment units exploded, walls cracked, and soldiers ran as the creatures turned violent. The Dominion didn't need to invade. They'd just turned humanity's trophies against them. Eli dashed through smoke and alarms to reach Rex. The hangar was a storm of fire and metal. He shouted over the noise, "Rex! You have to fight it again!" The beast was trembling, trying to resist, claws carving deep scars into the steel floor. Its breathing came in growls, each louder than the last. Then, It looked up, eyes flickering red and green, torn between control and rage. A voice on the intercom screamed, "Trent! Evacuate! That thing will tear you apart!" Eli ignored them. No, he won't. He walked straight toward Rex. Every soldier thought he'd lost his mind. He pressed his hand to the beast's chest, feeling the pulse of its synthetic heart. "You're more than this. You hear me? You're not their weapon. You're my friend." The red light dimmed, slowly, painfully. The war beast shuddered, then collapsed, its body steaming from the internal fight. It had beaten the signal again, but barely. The blast doors opened behind them. Armed troops poured in, led by the same general who'd ordered Operation Packlight. "Commander Trent," he barked. "Step away from it. That creature's a risk to every life here." Eli turned, eyes cold. That creature just saved every life here. The general didn't blink. "You've grown too close. You're relieved of command." Rex rose slowly, towering over the soldiers. Its growl rumbled through the hangar floor. Eli raised his hand. "Easy, boy." The beast stopped. The soldiers didn't. They fired. Eli dove in front of Rex. Sparks flew. The bullets didn't kill him, but the betrayal did. Rex roared, the sound of heartbreak and fury mixed into one. It swept the soldiers aside without killing them, just enough to make them drop their weapons and flee. When silence finally returned, Eli lay on the ground, bleeding, shaking his head. "Guess we're fugitives now, huh?" Rex nudged his shoulder gently, eyes soft and green again. And just like that, a man and a beast became the most wanted pair in the galaxy. Hunted by both sides, united by loyalty neither empire could understand. They called them traitors. Eli Trent, once a decorated commander, was now hunted by his own fleet. Every broadcast in human space carried his face beside the image of the war. Beast. "Armed deserter, dangerous, terminate," on sight. The same soldiers who had once cheered his victories now aimed their weapons at him. Eli didn't care about titles anymore. All he wanted was distance between them and the world that tried to cage what it didn't understand. He and Rex drifted through the edges of space, jumping between dead stations and forgotten moons. They scavenged for food, power, and peace. The war beast slept beside flickering campfires, its massive form curled like a mountain of steel and fur. Sometimes Eli would talk just to fill the silence. "You ever miss it?" he'd say softly. "All the noise, the people, the chaos?" Rex would blink its glowing eyes and rest its head on his lap. That was enough answer. They became ghosts, whispers told by smugglers and wanderers. "There's a man and a monster out there," they said, "and they only fight when they have to." Some said the beast spoke. Others said the human had gone mad. Truth was simpler. They were both tired of being owned. Months passed before the Dominion found them again. The attack came at dawn, sleek black ships cutting through the atmosphere of a half-dead world. Missiles fell like rain. Eli and Rex ran through dust and ruin as explosions chased them. A voice thundered from the comms. "Surrender, human! The creature belongs to the Dominion." Eli ducked behind a wrecked shuttle, panting. "They never learn, do they?" He looked at Rex, who growled low, muscles tense. "All right, buddy. One more dance." When the Dominion soldiers landed, they found nothing human about what followed. The war beast moved like a storm. Precise, fast, unstoppable. It didn't kill unless it had to, but when it did, it was mercifully quick. Eli fought beside it, a single rifle against an army, his commands short, calm, trusted. Then, in the middle of the chaos, the Dominion's signal pulse struck again, a third and final version. Rex froze mid-charge. Its eyes flickered red, then black. "Rex!" Eli shouted, firing at the hovering transmitter. He hit it, but it was too late. The beast trembled violently, collapsing to the ground. Sparks burst from its armor, a cry like metal tearing apart, filling the air. Eli ran forward, falling to his knees beside it. "Hey, stay with me! Come on, you can fight it!" Rex's breathing was heavy, glitching between growls and static. Its gaze met his, confused, afraid. "I'm here," Eli whispered. "I'm not leaving you." For a moment, something inside the beast shifted. The red faded to green, faint, flickering, but real. It looked at him one last time before falling silent. The massive frame went still, smoke curling into the cold air. Eli screamed, but no one heard it above the engines of the Dominion ships retreating to the sky. Hours later, he sat beside the motionless war beast. His armor cracked, his face burned by smoke and tears. "You saved me more times than I deserved," he said quietly. "Guess it's my turn." He began to repair the beast by hand, using scavenged circuits and broken tools. He didn't eat. He didn't sleep. He worked because grief was heavier than any weapon. And love, even the kind between a man and a machine, refused to die quietly. 3 days passed. The world around Eli Trent was silent except for the wind that moved through metal ruins. Rex hadn't moved once. Its massive frame lay half buried in dust, armor darkened, eyes dim. The war beast that once shook planets now looked peaceful, like a sleeping giant that had finally found rest. But Eli wasn't ready to let it end. He sat beside it, his uniform torn, hands trembling as he worked on the circuits beneath its chest. Sparks burned his fingers. He didn't care. "You're not done, Rex. Not yet." The Dominion had left the system, thinking both man and beast were dead. Humanity hadn't come either. To them, Eli was already a ghost, a traitor lost in space. But ghosts still had work to do. He scavenged every piece of tech he could find, patching circuits with broken tools, whispering the whole time like his words could keep the machine's heart beating. "You were more human than any of them," he muttered. "So don't you dare quit on me." When the power core finally reconnected, a faint hum filled the air. The ground vibrated. Eli looked up, heart pounding. "Come on, buddy. Come back to me." The green light flickered in one of Rex's eyes, weak but alive. Then the other. Slowly, painfully, the war beast lifted its head. The first sound it made wasn't a growl. It was a soft, broken rumble. Eli laughed through tears. "There you are." Rex tried to stand, struggling. Eli pushed against its shoulder to help, his hands shaking. "Easy, easy. You did it." The sky above them glowed orange from the rising sun, the first sunrise either had seen in months. For the first time, there was no gunfire, no sirens, no orders. Just two survivors who had beaten the galaxy's hatred by refusing to let go of each other. News of their survival spread slowly, carried by traders and drifters. Stories said the war beast no longer killed, that it followed a lone human across forgotten worlds, protecting the weak, rescuing those left behind by war. Some called them rebels. Others called them saviors. But those who saw them said one thing again and again. The human would speak to the monster softly, like an old friend, and the beast would listen as if every word mattered. Years later, on a quiet moon far from any empire, children would whisper under starlight about the soldier and his beast, about how the galaxy's greatest weapon became a guardian, about how one word, "good boy," changed everything, because in the end, the war didn't end with victory or surrender. It ended with understanding. And in the silence that followed, somewhere between metal and heart, the war beast finally wagged its tail.